Hey guys, all right, so lesson 9, 1.9, this is for honors and math 7. This is dividing rational numbers. How is dividing rational numbers like dividing integers? Okay, so I'm going to warn you right here. This video is going to be a little bit longer, okay? I'm going to have to go through this example several times. I'm going to do it with different problems. I'll be erasing stuff, putting stuff back on. So if there's any point where you see something, make sure that you pause it so you can write everything down. But make sure you're also listening to what I have to say because it'll make things much more clear. But it's going to take a bit. Okay, so let's go through this. So first, vocabulary. Complex fraction. It's when the numerator, the denominator, or both are themselves a fraction. So what I did was I looked at example 3, and I'm doing B first for those of you who are observant and watching the PowerPoints. Okay, so B right here is a complex fraction. It's negative 2/3 over a negative 1/4. Now this looks really complicated unless you remember what I've told you. Every fraction is a division problem. So I can actually go through and rewrite this as a negative 2/3 divided by a negative 1/4. Now, right away you should understand the rules. If it is negative, these negatives cancel each other out. We're going to have a positive outcome, so I can get rid of that. Second rule you need to remember. Well, actually third, right? First, this is a division problem. Second, the negatives cancel each other out. And third, we do not divide fractions. We multiply by the reciprocal. Now remember this when you do this. So we have the 2/3 that stays the same. The first fraction, see here, stayed the same. But then this one, we're going to turn to multiplication, and we're going to put 4 over 1. Some of you learned this last year is keep, change, flip. Okay? So whatever it takes for you to be able to remember it, use that strategy. Okay? At this point, I look to see if there's anything I can cross cancel. There's not. So then what I do is I simply go through, multiply straight across. It's 8/3. 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. This is what we consider an improper fraction. So we'll turn this into a regular or a mixed number. This is a division problem, right? So this is 8 divided by 3. I'm going to show you the whole process just on this first one. So 3 goes into 8 twice. That's -6. We get 2, and we have 2 left over the 3, which is the same. The denominator is the same as the divider. Okay, so in other words, the answer to this one is 2 2/3. Okay, guys? So I'm going to step aside for a second, pause it right here if you need to, so you can write everything down. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Now I'm going to do 4 of these. A is already written up here. Okay, so you're going to see me do this. I'm going to solve it, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to erase it and go on to C and D. Okay, so the first one here, that when I look at this and I determine it, I look and I see that I've got a mixed number and I've got a decimal. So I'm going to turn this into a mixed number. Now if I know how to say this, I know what it is. So first I'm going to put the 1 1/3, negative 1 1/3, divided by, and this becomes a negative 1 6/10. 1 6/10. 6/10, right? Okay. Now the next step. First of all, I realize the negatives cancel each other out, right? Negative divided by negative is a positive. That same exact rule we've been using all the way through here. Okay, then the second part is I'm going to reduce this down. I'm going to reduce this down to 3/5. Now, in order to do anything with this, I need to turn these into improper fractions. So this is 1 multiplied by 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4/3, divided by 1 multiplied by 5 is 5, plus 3 is 8/5. Then it's the same rule again, guys. We do not divide fractions. We multiply by the reciprocal. So this becomes 4/3 multiplied by 5/8. Now we look to see if there's anything we can cross cancel. There is. The 4 and the 8, we can both divide by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Then we simply multiply straight across, and we get 5/6. 1 multiplied by 5 is 5, 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. Okay, so a lot of steps in this. It's going to take a lot of practice, so make sure that you get this down, especially for when we do the possible worksheet, okay? Okay, so that's A. So if you haven't already, you need to pause that, okay, and look at it. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so C. So we're doing each one of these examples from the PowerPoint, okay, guys? So make sure you're watching those PowerPoints. Okay, so this is a negative 9/10, and it's divided by a negative 3/10. Okay, so the first thing I look at, I've got a negative divided by a negative again. That cancels each other out because it's going to be a positive. Then I look at it and I go, okay, we don't divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So this is 9/10. We're going to turn this to multiplication, and this is going to become 10/3. Okay? Then I look at the cross canceling. Well, these 10s I can both divide by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 10 divided by 10 is 1. The 9 and the 3 I can both divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. So then we multiply straight across. 3 times 1 is 3. And 1 multiplied by 1 is 1. 3 over 1 is actually 3. So the answer to C is 3. Okay, guys? Pause it right here if you need to. I'm going to go on to D. Okay, so we've got D. Okay, so D is a negative 0 5/10 divided by a negative 3/13. Okay, so a lot of you are not knowing how to approach this, right? So the first thing I notice, again, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. This is gone. Okay, this decimal I need to turn into a fraction so that they're both fractions. If I know how to say this, 5/10, it's 5/10 divided by 3/13. See, there's no reason to keep on having the negatives drop down if you know they've canceled each other out already. Okay, so now at this point, I realize that 5/10 can be reduced. I can divide each one of these by 5. So notice how I'm doing the same thing right here when I reduce a fraction alone as I did when I was cross-canceling, okay? So I divide 5 by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now, so this becomes 1/2, but we don't divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal, so we're going to multiply by 13/3. Now when I multiply it straight across, I realize that I get 13/6. This is an improper fraction, just like this one over here was, okay? So I look at it and I go, okay, how many times does 6 go into 13? It goes in there twice. How much is left over? 1, and I put that over 6. And there's my final answer, 2 1/6. Okay, guys? So again, look at it real quick. Make sure you pause it if you don't understand it, and ask me in class if there's something you don't understand. Okay, now this next one, this is what I was talking about taking a little bit longer. This next one, I've got a few things to explain on, and it's probably the hardest Excel you're going to have in this lesson. Okay, so this is Excel number 9. Okay, so for a lot of you, this will not make sense. But here's what the question says. I've got it over here, okay, guys? And now I want you to realize it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to bring this in a little closer, make sure it's on focused. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit different, okay? Because this says between 10 p.m. and 7:36 a.m., the water level is in a swimming pool decreased by 12/25 of an inch. In this one, it decreased by 9/20 of an inch. Okay, assuming that the water level decreased at a constant rate, how much did the water level drop each hour? Okay, so they want inches, and you'll see that it'll actually say in there, the water level decreased by blank inch each hour. That's inches per hour. You can write that as a fraction, and that's what I do to figure out how we can go through and solve these. So I go inches per hour. This tells me that I need to put inches up on top. This is how much it decreased, okay? 9/20ths of an inch. And then on the bottom, I actually have to figure out how much time there is between 10 p.m. and 7:36 a.m. Or in this case, it was 7:54 a.m., okay? So what I did was, so this went from 10 p.m. to 7:54 a.m. So what I realized is there's 7 hours and 54 minutes here, and then to get to midnight, from 10 to midnight, there's 2 hours. So I added the 2 hours to this, the 7:54. But I have to put it in fraction form, guys. So what I did was 2 plus 7 is 9, and then the 54 I put over 60. Okay? So this is my inches per hour. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide these because every fraction is a division problem. This is a complex fraction. So this is going to take a little bit of work, okay? And I went through and already worked this out, so you're going to see me work this back and forth. But you'll see if you use the strategies I do, it's a little bit easier, okay, guys? Okay, so here's what we're looking at. The first thing I did was I reduced the 54 over 60. So in other words, this equals 9 over 20 divided by 9, and these are both divisible by 6. 54 divided by 6 is 9, and 60 divided by 6 is 10, so 9/10, okay? Then I went through and I actually put this into a division problem. So in other words, 9/20ths divided by 9 and 9/10. Then I went through and I turned this into an improper fraction. So this is 9/20ths divided by 9 times 10 is 90 plus 9 is 99 over 10. Then I realized I don't divide fractions, I multiply by the reciprocal. So this became 9/20ths multiplied by 10 over 99. Now this is why it's so important to cross cancel right here, guys. There are many times when you're going to go through, and if you just multiply straight across, you're going to end up with this huge number and then have to try to reduce the fraction. Cross canceling is simply going through and reducing the fraction before you multiply. Okay? So in other words, I look at this and I go 9 and 99. I can divide these both by 9. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. 99 divided by 9 is 11. Okay? Then I look at this, 20 and 10, and I can divide these both by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 20 divided by 10 is 2. Then I multiply straight across, and it's 1 over 22. Believe it or not, this is the answer right here. 1 over 22, and then it's 1/22 of an inch per hour. That's what they want for the answer in that Excel. So you may have different numbers. You're going to have to go through and figure it out yourself, okay, guys? But if you need to, pause this. Watch it again if you need to. If anything else, you can ask me in class, and I'll redo the problem again in class. All right, guys? All right, good luck.